Hello, FPL managers. Welcome back. This is FPL Optimized, episode number 116. And guess what? Surtop is here as well, so we are reunited again, finally. How are you doing, Surtop?
I'm doing fine. I'm a little bit sick from last
Oh,
week, obviously.
okay.
But yeah, it's good to be back. It's good to see you. Like you
Thank
came
you.
back pretty refreshed, I should say. So maybe you should go to skiing more often. I'm thinking.
Yeah, man. It's like the returning topic of the podcast. I'm going away and you are sick. So, yeah.
We need a spin-off
It's
podcast about how you
enough.
optimize vacations and what are your
Yeah, I
recommendations.
saw on the Discord that people were quite interested in my holiday tips, so maybe I'll start a separate podcast about that.
Definitely.
All right, no, but we're back today with our usual content. I am Bas, the casual manager, and my co-host is Sertop, the data scientist. And this is the podcast in which we combine analytics with the good old eye test. Data or grass, or data and grass? That's the question. We're entering the chip season in FPL, which is always super interesting, and it's where good planning can make a difference. We will not be talking too much about chips today, but we will definitely prepare something for next week. But anyway, in general, we hope, of course, that our information will help you to navigate the upcoming game weeks. As I said, we will cover the usual content today. So let's start with a quick game week review, even though this time I would actually prefer to skip it.
I finished the game week with 52 points. So very small green arrow. Like arrow is always welcome, but small
Yeah.
movements are not that exciting, obviously.
No.
I got lucky with my auto sub. Colwell didn't play, so I got Munoz from the bench. That was a nice surprise for me. Alexander Arnold returned 11 points. That was pretty good from my point of view.
Yeah.
Captaincy was disappointing for everyone, I guess. Almost everyone. So it wasn't
Yeah.
that particularly exciting. And I
Mm.
see that you got 30 points. Do you wanna maybe talk about it?
No. What can I say? I mean, I guess we all have one of these weeks in the FPL season, where basically not much is working. Yeah, I ended with 30 points. I dropped quite a bit in the ranking, and I think it's just because I didn't have some of the popular options like Trent and Wood who were scoring points. And in my team, I just had Martinelli with 7 points. That was the only positive one
Hmm.
this week. And yeah, maybe a little bit unlucky with two bench players scoring points, but yeah, I think when I was planning for it, I think it made sense that I had Watkins and Kirkies on the bench. But of course, then they scored two nice goals. But yeah, it is what it is. But also in general, I think actually the team still looks quite good, and I was on a pretty good run. So yeah, this is a negative week, but I'm looking forward to the next weeks. And already for the next game week, I think the team is looking pretty strong. So I'm still positive, still optimistic. So yeah, let's just start looking ahead and let's take a look at our fixture ticker.
Certainly. So, in this upcoming horizon, we have a double game week, obviously in game week 24, where Liverpool is playing against Everton. So, well, partly because of it, but also because they also have other good fixtures, especially this game week. Liverpool is the first team in our fixture ticker. They are playing against Ipswich this game week. Pretty good fixture. And then in game week 24, obviously they are doubling Bournemouth and Everton, both away games. But, well, double game weeks are always the good times for, you know, collecting projected points. So it's pretty
Yeah.
high. And then they play against Wolves in game week 25, another good fixture.
Yeah.
They play against City right after, which is obviously a tough fixture. So their projected points are down, but then they have Newcastle and Southampton. Both games
Mm.
are at home. So out of these 6 game weeks, they have favorable fixtures in 5 of them. So it's a question of which Liverpool players to own in this
Yeah.
period. If
Correct.
uh, And also, if you're thinking about using your assistant manager chip, then you need to be careful with your budgets, like how much money you are leaving in the bank, and also obviously not using all of your Liverpool spots.
Yeah.
Um, and the
Good
second
point.
team in the fixture ticker is Arsenal. They have 3 good fixtures out of 6. The first one is Wolves playing this week, and then they play City, but then right after they play against Leicester, and then West Ham the week after. So these 3 fixtures are marked as favorable. Um, and then we have Chelsea in the third place, but their good fixtures are coming at the end of this horizon. So they have 2 fixtures that are marked favorably: Southampton and Leicester games in Game Week 27 and Game Week 28, respectively. But they are again
Mhm.
at the end of this horizon. They have some tough fixtures first. They play against City this week. West Ham comes after. That's a fine fixture. But then Brighton and Aston Villa fixtures, they're also away fixtures, and their projected points are pretty low. In the fourth place, we have Aston Villa. In general, their fixtures are okay. One particularly good fixture is game week 25 against Ipswich.
Mhm.
Defensively, it's marked as a favorable fixture, making it into the top 10 percentile. And then we have Tottenham in the fifth place, and their good fixture is against Leicester this week. But especially, it's a good fixture, especially for offensively, not defensively. Their defense projected points are pretty low. Not surprisingly, they
Yeah.
have lots of injuries and they have been
Yeah.
struggling a bit. Then we have City in the sixth place. I mean, they're free falling, but they're in the sixth place here. Um, Not only because of their performance, obviously they're going to turn things around, but their fixture is pretty tough. I mean, they have
Yeah.
Chelsea, Arsenal,
Yeah.
Liverpool, Tottenham games. So these 4 games in out of 6. Other 2 are
Yeah.
Newcastle and Nottingham Forest. Relatively better, but still tough fixtures. And then we have Newcastle in the 7th place. Brighton comes up 8, Crystal Palace 9, and then finally Manchester United is at the 10th place in our fixture ticker. And any comments from you, boss?
Well, did go through it in quite some detail also last week, but maybe not everyone was listening. But as you said, Liverpool with the double game week, that's of course a team where everyone is loading up on. I think everyone already has Salah. So just the question is, which other 2 players do you get? I think Trent, of course, is a popular option, but maybe not so easy to get budget wise. And it's also, I would say, a question whether you want to spend that budget on him. I mentioned last week that I was not in favor of it, but then of course you see that he kept a clean sheet and he had an assist, and that's of course something that Trent can do. So yeah, it's a tough decision, I would say. A great player, just a question of having the budget available or not, because you can also go for a cheaper alternative in the defense with Konate. And then, yeah, the other options, I would say Kakpo is quite interesting. I brought him in. So, yeah, pretty happy to have him with the upcoming home games and also the double. And maybe also Luis Diaz could be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not too excited about the double though, even though it is a double, but it's Bournemouth away and Everton away. It's not the easiest fixtures, and there's also quite some time in between. So yeah, we'll talk about chip strategies more next week. But I think like triple captain will be popular on Salah. But yeah, ideally I would like to have a more attractive double. But I was listening to some other podcasts saying that there might not be many more better doubles coming up. Let's say for key players. So I think that could be an argument to use it. Don't know if you want to talk about it now, if you have any thoughts, or otherwise we'll just come back on it next week in terms of triple captain for game week 24.
I can briefly just talk about it. I think I agree. Like, this is a really good opportunity, like in terms of
Yeah,
finding key players to play in a double. Obviously, like double game weeks are a no-brainer. And so when we were talking about the chip strategies with James and Johnny, this also
yeah,
point came up. triple captain 24 is such an obvious move. It's almost like
Okay.
really boring, but
Yeah.
I feel like if you do it, there's nothing wrong with it. I think it's the logical thing to do.
Yes.
I think I would like to see what's the tendency from the community. Like if it feels like everyone is gonna do it, um, I was maybe influenced too much by James, but I feel like a Maverick chip strategy might save my season a little bit, so I might save my triple captain for later.
Yeah.
But it's so like logical that I don't want to
Yeah.
give away the opportunity. So like even if you do use it, is obviously not a bad move. If you
No,
save it
I
for
agree.
later, um, so even if you can't find anything higher than the projected points in this double, I think there will be players and game weeks where the projected points will be at least somewhat close.
Yeah.
It might not be higher than this one, but still, like
No.
you are not losing much in terms of expected value or projected
Yeah.
points. I think
Yeah.
so. But yeah, like if I was playing
Yeah.
this game against a computer by myself, no other person involved, I will just use it in the, game week 24,
Yes.
because this is very logical. But
It's
since I
logical.
also want to beat other people, I'm
Yeah.
just like maybe I should wait.
No, that's true. But the other point is like for people like us who still have all their chips,
Yeah,
yeah, we also need to have in mind that there are just certain number of double game weeks coming up. And if you want to use your triple captain, you want to use your bench boost, and you also want to use your assistant manager chip, if you just save them, then yeah, you might get a little bit stuck later on. Um,
I heard that point, yeah, on my timeline, but I'm not 100% agree with it. I mean, like we
okay.
obviously we need 3 game weeks for assistant manager. That's like a big
Yeah.
chunk. But other than that, I mean, we have like 4 other chips: triple captain, free hit, bench boost, and wild card. So like 7 game weeks out of like all these remaining fixtures. I think
Right.
you can use them effectively. Game week
Oh, that's
24 is
true.
yeah,
But
just
ideally, you want to use it in a double game week, right?
sure,
And we probably
for
have
sure,
we'll
for
just
sure.
have we'll just have three, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, we'll come back on it. But again, I mean, the key point is for everyone to kind of have a plan in mind because, yeah, your chip strategy, if you need to know what you want to do more or less, like what do you want to use it now? Do you want to keep it for later? And based on that, of course, you need to do your transfers or plan your transfers. But anyway, I think yeah, double game week, very interesting for Liverpool. I think probably everyone will have three Liverpool by game week 24, and
Yeah.
especially also looking here at the fixture ticker with the Southampton game coming up in game week 28. It's probably then three players that you just want to keep for a while. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah.
true. That's true.
What else is there to say? Yeah, Arsenal. It was good that we had some different people scoring goals. So again, reminder that they have different options with Havertz. I have Martinelli, but there's also Trossard who is quite consistent with delivering assists. So yeah, a few options, but yeah, they're not really keeping the clean sheets though. So that's an issue for all the people who went quite big on the Arsenal defense. What else is there to say? Villa, I still have Watkins. He scored a goal last game week, but he also played in the Champions League yesterday. So I think it's with him now. It's every week probably a question whether he will start or not. With also Duran back in the team. So I think for me, probably at one moment, I will need to move Watkins out. And the other thing I wanted to mention, just when you were looking at the Newcastle games, because there are probably most of us also have two, or like in my case, three Newcastle players.
Hmm.
Some tough fixtures coming up now, right? With their game week 25, City away, then Forest at home, Liverpool away. So
Yeah,
three quite difficult fixtures. So also for me, something to look at, and again, maybe for other people as well. If you have three Newcastle, maybe you want to move to two Newcastle. So yeah,
yeah,
plenty,
that's a
plenty
good
to look
call.
at
Yeah,
here. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. All right, cool. Fixture ticker. Let's now look at the different player options then.
Hmm. Yeah, I will cover some of the top players in every
Yeah,
position. The first one is the goalkeepers, as usual.
yeah,
Unsurprisingly, we have Ellison and Pickford in the top two spots because of the double, so they have an
yeah.
extra fixture, meaning they have better chance of keeping more clean sheet than usual. Obviously, so Ellison is projected to get 28.6 points in the next 6 game weeks, and Pickford is at 24.7. So in
Hmm.
terms of value, like if you just divide this total to their price, Ellison is actually the best value. Like it is like strange for a premium goalkeeper to be this high in terms of like total projected points divided by their price. They
Yeah,
typically don't appear much, but Ellison is 5.2 if you do that calculation, and Pickford is at 4.9. He's also pretty good.
okay.
And then we have Raya in the third spot, 23.4 projected points. Um, but compared to him, I mean, he's obviously very expensive as far as the goalkeepers go.
Yeah,
So there are goalkeepers whose projected points are lower, like Henderson, 21.2. But in terms of value, total projected points divided by price, so
yeah.
they are kind of better. Henderson and Verbruggen, both around the same projected points, 21.2. Same with Martinez, but Martinez is obviously more expensive.
More expensive.
Um, so these are the goalkeepers. Any comments from you? Or
No, not really. As I mentioned, I have Pickford, and so far it has been a bit disappointing. I bought him after he kept all the clean sheets, and since then it's been a few weeks now without a clean sheet. So I hope he will get some points from me in the coming game weeks, especially in the double. But yeah, goalkeepers in general are a bit difficult this season. I think,
yeah.
unless maybe the people who went for Sal's early,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or the people that had Pickford for his run of clean sheets. But for the rest, it's a bit tough.
Yeah, yeah. Um, in terms of defenders, you also mentioned this, but like the table is just full of Liverpool and Arsenal players.
Yeah,
So in the top three spots, we have Arsenal defenders. We have Trent, Virgil, and Konate. Out of these three, actually, Konate is a great value. I mean, his projected point is
yeah,
25.3, but he's really cheap, 5.1 million right now. Like
yeah,
compare him to Trent, who's 7.2 million with
yeah,
33.9 projected points. Obviously, like with Trent, you have more like attacking return possibility, but
yeah,
if you just do the calculation, then Konate is actually pretty good value here. Is better.
yeah. True.
In the fourth spot we have Gabriel. Again, so in these charts we always see the like defenders. Obviously, like clean sheet is important; they get lots of points. But if they have any attacking return possibility, they are obviously higher. So Gabriel is not surprisingly here at the fourth spot. Then we have Robertson at the fifth place. I guess something to do with him having like like not certain minutes, I should say.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and then we have
True.
Munoz at the
Yes.
sixth place, 22.3 projected points, 4.6 is the uh, total projected points per price, pretty good. And then we have Timber, Mitchell from Crystal Palace, and Estupinan at the bottom
Yeah.
of this chart.
It's interesting now for the goalkeepers. We saw Pickford because, of course,
Mm-hmm.
of the Everton double, but we don't see any Everton defenders. Maybe
Hmm.
just less attractive there. Even though I see more people now talking about Mikolenko again, maybe for the double.
Yeah.
So that could be an option.
Yeah, he should be close to this list. Obviously, he
Yeah.
didn't make it to the top nine, but I
No.
think he's somewhere just below this. But yeah,
Yeah.
good point. I guess
Yeah.
it has something
Just
to do
below.
with goalkeepers having more ways to get points. I mean, from save
Yeah.
points to
Yeah.
maybe that one.
Okay. All right.
Uh,
Perfect.
and then top midfielders. Guess who is
Yes.
in the first spot?
Oh.
You can never guess. It's Salah with
Yes.
55.9 projected points over next 6 game weeks. So
Yeah.
like everyone has Salah at this point, I assume, but
Yeah.
uh, his projected points per price is also pretty good, 4.1. And then we have Palmer.
Yeah.
43.1, so there's a big jump. Obviously, Salah has an extra fixture, so that affects things a little bit, but still, Liverpool has lots of good fixtures in this horizon too. And then we
Mm.
have Son in the third place with 31.9. So there's like a very steep drop from Salah to Palmer, Palmer to Son. And Son,
Yeah.
based on his price, is actually not that good for like in
No.
terms of how many projected points you get from him at that price
Yeah.
point. Mbomo is better in the fourth place, almost the same projected points as Son, but significantly cheaper, almost like 2 million cheaper. Bruno Fernandes comes at the fifth place, 29.8, and then we have Luis Diaz following him, 28.9. We have Odegaard after him at Eze, and finally Foden in the top
Mm.
9 midfielders. And Eze is a great value player. I mean, his projected point is 27.9. He's only 6.7 million right now. So
Ah.
if you do the math, it's 4.2 projected points per price per million. It's actually slightly better than Salah even.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and he has been picking up some form lately. Yeah, a few goals and assists. Same for Foden. Anyone who went for Foden a few weeks ago, really a great pick. I think maybe now it's probably too late, or it's more difficult with the difficult fixtures that are coming up, as you mentioned earlier. But for the rest, yeah, as you said, Salah and Palmer are already heavily owned, so it's a bit tricky in this game, right? Because you can't really be happy now anymore if Salah scores a goal because basically everyone owns him.
Yeah, that was a
And that will
challenge
be,
with
by the
Holland too. Yeah, back in the
yeah,
day.
and it will also be a bit the case with triple captain, right? Like with so many people triple captaining. Of course, you will always win a little bit against those people who didn't triple captain him. But yeah, with the majority probably triple captaining, it's not too much to celebrate. And I think that was the argument for many people who went for the early triple captain on Haaland, just because not many people were doing it. So you could get an advantage. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I think this was very common in FPL for a while now. I mean, you don't get much gain from the premium players because almost everyone is on the
Yeah,
same or similar premium players.
yeah,
You get rank gains from players like Isaac, where if not many
yeah.
people own him, then you get a nice jump. And it has been a while like this.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was watching the Chelsea game for a little bit on Monday, but I only had Palmer, so I was like, yeah, not much interest to watch. Like,
Yeah,
even if he scores, it doesn't really matter, right? It would
yeah, that's
actually be
true.
better if he didn't score because I didn't captain him. So then, yeah, that's a bit annoying. But anyway, but what do I take away from this chart is that I need to get Mbumo back at some point because yeah, I think the fixtures are getting better for Brentford again. And yeah, he has been really quite consistent this season. I was happy when I had him at the start, and then I sold him just because of yeah, fixture changes. But I think I want to bring him back quite soon. And a thought that I had earlier today, because I was thinking about my three Liverpool players, and I have Salah and Gakpo, and I was thinking for a defender to get Konate. But then I was thinking I could also get Luis Diaz, and I just go for Salah, Luis Diaz, and Gakpo, and I bet a little bit more on the attacking potential.
hmm
So
hmm hmm
that could be an option for me, maybe a little bit differential, but yeah,
Yeah,
something, I won't do it this week, but it will be something for next week to prepare for the double. Yeah.
yeah, that sounds good.
All right, let's look at the attackers.
Yeah, so interestingly, we have a new leader in the forward category. We had
Oh, indeed.
Holland in the first spot for so long that we almost forgot other forwards' names, but Isaac got the top spot. Like they're almost the same, like 34.1.
Yeah.
And part of the reason is one model is predicting them quite high. And so it's
Okay.
just like
All right.
tilting the average a little bit higher for both of them,
Yeah.
but more for Isaac. But
Yeah.
anyway, I mean, they're almost at the same projected points, 34.1.
Yeah.
But Isaac is obviously much cheaper than Holland. And then
Yeah. Yeah.
if you just divide by the price, he's 3.6 projected points per 1 million price, and Haaland comes at the second place, same projected points. But in terms of value, he's really bad. I mean, 2.3. I'm sure there are people who are still betting on Haaland, but
Yeah,
right now with the fixtures they have, he's pretty. Like, he probably leaves really little money for the rest of your team that you might be struggling probably.
indeed.
But I mean, doesn't mean that he's not gonna get points.
No,
He's the highest,
true.
second highest forward here.
Yeah.
But looking at the other options, we have Gakpo in the third place, so you might be happy to see him here.
Yes.
28.9 projected points for the next 6 game weeks. Uh,
Yeah.
Value is pretty good. I mean, he's 7.4 million right now. And then we have Watkins in the fourth place, 28.6. So, well, Watkins is more expensive and less projected points than Gakpo. Obviously, like, has one less fixture, but still.
Mm.
So, and then we have Jackson in the fifth place. Then comes Mateta, Visa, Havertz, and finally Wood. So all of these
Mm.
players are pretty close in terms of projected points. They are between like
Yeah.
26 to 28 in that range.
Correct.
But in
Yeah.
terms of value, Visa is a pretty good choice because he's projected to get 27 points over the next 6 game weeks, which brings his total projected points per price to 4.4, which is a pretty decent value. But yeah.
No, I agree. Yeah, yeah. Wissa is interesting. Together with Mbumo, really quite consistent already so far this season.
Mm.
And with reasonably good fixtures coming up, I think the Brentford double should be in our minds. But yeah, from this chart, basically, there's many options, right? Many options with similar points. So that's also good. We can go for different strategies. Gakpo, he was already really close to scoring a goal last game week. It was a Salah assist, and Gakpo should have done more with it. So that would have been nice for people like me who was captain Salah and had Gakpo in the team. But yeah, unfortunately, it didn't happen. But quite happy to have him also for the next couple of games, especially also, yeah, 2 home games and the double. So that's good. And Watkins, as I said earlier, he's been, last couple of game weeks, he's been quite good, scoring a few goals. He also made 90 minutes in most of the games. But we know that Duran is on the bench. And again, he was suspended for a few games, but not anymore. So that's now every time just the minutes risk there. And at that price, 8.9 million, yeah, you just want to have assurance that your player will start.
Yeah.
So that's for me the dilemma. So probably I think for me it will be probably selling Watkins to Wissa.
Mm.
Um, but again, there are other options like Mateta, who has been scoring some goals lately as well. And of course, there is Chris Wood, who I still don't have in my team, and he scored again. So yeah, that keeps hurting me every week. You also don't have him, do you?
Who?
Wood.
No, I don't. I don't.
No.
I saw his ownership was quite high, and then
Yeah,
I was just really hoping he would blank, but he didn't.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. All right, let's move on. I think you also have some optimal teams.
yeah. So for
Yeah,
this upcoming horizon, we will talk more about chips in the next episode, or I should
yeah.
say in the future episodes. But just before the busy period, I just wanted to run a optimal wildcard team just to see how it looks like for the next 8 game weeks, with
Okay.
also adding some of the remaining game week points to the 8 game week. So if you use just FPL reviews projected data, you get this optimal team. I will just go over the squad. You get Verbruggen and Pickford as goalkeepers, Trent, Konate, Dunk, Kerkez, and Mikalenko as defenders, Salah, Son, Eze, Odegaard, and Bomo. And in forward, you get Isaac, Joe Pedro, and Calvert-Lewin.
Mhm.
Um, Not surprisingly, you have triple Everton and triple Liverpool. We also use the DK, so means that it's giving more weight to the upcoming double. But like, this team is scheduling lots of transfers. Obviously, you don't keep the same team for the longer horizon.
Yeah.
If you just use Mikhail Toklam's model, there are some similar picks, but some differences. You get Kepa and Pickford as goalkeepers. But in defense, you get Trent Gabriel. That's a difference. Konate, Tarkovsky. You were talking about Everton defenders, so we
Yeah.
see two different defenders here. And Davis from Ipswich. And in midfield, we have Salah, Son, Mbomo, Kluivert, and Semenyo. So two
Yeah.
Bournemouth midfielders. And the forward is the same. Isaac, Joe Pedro, and
Yeah.
Calvert-Lewin. If you mix these models 50% each, so just taking the average of these two models, same goalkeepers as Mikel Tokvam. In defense, though, you get Trent, Konate, Dang, Anderson, and Mikalenko. So it just goes back to the previous Everton defender. And in midfield, we have Salah, Son, Mbomo, Bruno Fernandes, Semenyo.
Okay.
And forward is again the same, Isaac, Joe
Yeah.
Pedro, and Calvert-Lewin.
Hmm.
Just for this 50-50 mix, I also checked what kind of transfers we are scheduling, because we just talked about Son not being a good value. So what the solver does, actually, it leaves some budget in the bank and plays Son against Leicester this game week and
Ah.
immediately transfer him out for Palmer. So um, So what happens is you have exact budget for this move, so it might be a little bit risky from a certain point of
Ah.
view.
Yeah.
And then you have six like players in the double. You have Pickford, Mikalenko, uh, Trent, Konate, Salah, and Calvert-Lewin. And then rolls twice, and then makes three transfers at once. It gets Raya, Kukureya, and Jackson. It says Pickford, Isaac, and Anderson. And then at the end of the horizon, it says Kukureya for Saliba, and Jackson for Cunha, and Calvert-Lewin for Strand Larson.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah,
Okay.
it's just getting prepared for other like upcoming potential like doubles and blanks. But so well, not surprising. I mean, we have lots of chips to play, so like there's little chance that this team will be actually optimal because there are like doubles you want to get advantage of, and
Yeah.
so like this kind of a team is good if you don't have any other chip, and then but yeah, so just to give you maybe some idea on like which players might bring you points,
Yeah.
I should say. But yeah, I see Semenyo playing in every game week here, which is like was an interesting thing. And also same
Yeah.
with
True.
Mbomo. You mentioned their fixtures are getting better. So yeah,
Yeah.
some good
Yeah,
picks.
and I think we were looking at the attackers earlier, and we didn't really mention Calvert-Lewin, but he's coming up in this solution. But if you look at it, I think the solver only goes for the Everton players in
Yeah,
for the double in 24,
yeah,
like both Mikolenko and Calvert-Lewin, and then for the rest, it's benching those players again. So that's, I guess, like if you're not wildcarding and you need to bring players in, it's kind of, is it worth to do so just for the one game week? I was thinking about it myself, but like
yeah,
Mikolenko, should I bring him in? I'm not sure. Mm,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's just, I mean, if you just use the solver, there's little chance you will see an Everton transfer, in my opinion. Like there, like
no,
unless your team is really good, you filled up your Liverpool spots, then maybe. But
okay,
um,
yeah,
their
good
projected
point.
points are not good. So as you mentioned,
Yeah,
so the solver is just benching them. I mean,
yeah,
maybe like as a good like Calvert Lewin, maybe a good first bench option with some of the projections,
yeah,
but not really worth it, right? So like you
no,
don't want to get a player for the next 8 game weeks just to play him in a single game week. So.
no, that's true. Even though Everton did score a few more goals lately with the new manager, or let's say in the previous game, 3-2 against Spurs, with a Calvert-Lewin goal, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that could maybe, yeah. But again, that's always risky that you get too excited about a double, right? You load up on players and then afterwards you don't need them anymore.
Happens.
So I think we need to be
Happens.
a bit careful with that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. Let's look at the captaincy options for the upcoming game week.
So Salah is the top option in every model. Fix, Hub,
Okay.
Scott, FPL Review, Mikel Tokvam. In all of them, Salah is the top option against Ipswich.
Yeah.
9.68 projected points in average. That's
Yeah.
pretty decent.
Yeah.
He's way ahead of the second option, Isaac,
Yeah.
who's at 6.94. Um, I also see Son. Like Son is the third best, 6.84, pretty
Yeah.
close to Isaac, and he's the second best option in Scott and FPL reviews models.
Okay.
Um, then comes Holland at the fourth place against Chelsea, 6.35. Then we have Trent in the fifth place, 5.83. Palmer in the sixth place with 5.49. And finally, Watkins at the seventh place, 5.43. So
Hmm.
everyone will be captaining Salah. It won't be an exciting week. I mean, it's not that if they were close, you would say that people will go for Isaac maybe just to
Yeah.
mix it up a little bit. But Salah is playing at home, pretty good
Yeah.
fixture, so I don't know if there's any reason to take any risks here.
Yeah, no, indeed, that's the point. Do you want to take the risk? I was thinking about Isaac because also, last game Newcastle had a really disappointing result, so I think they will be motivated to bounce back. And away to Southampton, of course, it should be possible to score a few goals. So I think that makes the game interesting. But yeah, Liverpool at home against Ipswich. The thing that helped is that Salah scored a goal yesterday because I think some people were saying, "Oh, he blanked twice." Maybe yeah, he lost it a bit. But then yesterday he scored a really nice goal in the Champions League, so that probably
Hmm.
gives some confidence again. I just wonder though with Salah, he keeps playing all these games, 90 minutes. Like it's quite impressive how he keeps it up. But I guess at some point there could be a minutes risk. Like imagine that they're like 3-0 up at halftime, then yeah, why would you leave him in the team? You could maybe give him a break. But yeah, that's probably thinking a bit too far. But just something maybe to keep in mind.
Hmm. Hmm.
And for me, while we talked about it earlier, I need to really decide what I should do with Watkins because it's interesting that he shows up here as well, not a top candidate, but still in the list. I think there's quite a big risk that he starts on the bench, but I will probably watch the lineup predictions, and if most Villa experts predict that he will start, then I might start him as well, and I'll just keep him for another week, I think.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. So I think we can wrap it up, and we'll take a look at the mini league.
Yeah. That's it.
Cool. Well, it's been a while that we covered the mini league, so sorry everyone that we didn't mention that we didn't give credit, let's say, to the people who made the top three. I was looking at it earlier, and it's nice to see some of the familiar names still in the top three. Number one is Abhinav C with his team taking quickly Origi. I think we've been mentioning his name already a few times in this podcast, and
Hmm.
he's just keeping it up. It's quite impressive. He's on 1,567 points, and I checked his OR. It's number 76 in the world. So, really well done, Abhinav. Keep it up. And then just 14 points behind him, we have Lyle Mosley, who's also been mentioned quite many times already in the podcast. So it also Lyle, very consistent season with his team Don't Panic, and he's number 207 OR. And then a little bit further down in terms of points gap, we have a new name. I decided to call it Kitty K because the name is a bit complicated. So Kitty K is on number three here with his team around you on 1,525 points. And I think he's a he or she, probably he, sorry. Sorry for mixing it up. But the OR is 1,073, so also not bad. But yeah, we have two really big performers on number one and two with Abhinav and Lyle.
Yeah.
All right, well done, everyone. So that was it for today. Sertab and I were finally back together again. We hope you enjoyed listening to this episode. And we will be back again next week with a new episode. You can subscribe to our podcast so you'll get notified when the next episode is out. And you can also follow us on X or Sertop also on Blue Sky. But on X for Sertop, it's at Sertop Bilal. For me, it's at BelfiBB. And we also have the separate account for the pod, which is at FPL Optimized.
And until next time, stay curious and stay analytical. Goodbye.